All right, I'm going to go through practice activities 3.5 through, I think 3.10. There's 3.11. I'm not going to do that one with you guys. You can do the validation on your own. But I will go ahead and do 3.5 through 3.10. I apologize. I forgot to record these when I was doing the session on Friday, so I'll just redo these real quick for you to kind of see how to work through those, okay? All right, so let's start up 3.5 on page 102. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the, let's see here. All right, so we'll just start with the files from 3.4. All right, so I already got everything downloaded onto the laptop here. All right, so I'm going to take chapter 3, 3.4, and I'm going to just open that in brackets. Open with, there we go, brackets. All right, so what we're going to do now in this one is do some more configuration of the embedded style sheet here. All right, so we already have a nav style set up. Okay, so but what I want to do is get rid of the underlines for the links. Okay, so this is kind of a common practice, and I'll preview it here just to show you. Okay, so the links right here right now have underlines. Okay, and a lot of sites get rid of the underlines just as a styling type of trend right now. So we can do that. So I'm going to scroll up here a little bit. Right under that nav style, the first one there, I'm going to add another one, and it's going to be nav space A. All right, and then my curly brackets. And the reason we use the A there is because we're going to style specifically the anchor element. Okay, so the link. And we're going to tell it to have a text decoration. Okay, and we're going to set that to none. All right, so that'll get rid of the underline. And then we're also going to create, okay, so now we're going to create a class selector in our style sheet. Okay, so remember with a class selector, we use a period, and then we're going to name the class. And this one we're going to name feature. All right, and our curly brackets. And we're going to set the color, text color, to C70000. All right. Okay, so we have our class set up there. And then what I want to do is we're going to go down. We're going to go down here to the to our list, and we're going to assign that class to a couple of these list items. All right, so we're going to do this one here. So we're going to go to the opening tag, list element tag, list item, and we're going to do li space class equals, and then in quotations, feature. All right, so we're telling it for this list item here to assign whatever style we set up for that class to the words right there. All right, so one thing to notice too, when we define the class up here in the style sheet, we have to use the period and then the name of the class. When we assign it, we don't have to include that period. Okay, so just leave the period off. And we're going to do the same thing here for this list item. All right, so the next page, last part of this hands-on practice activity, we're going to assign some styling to the footer. Okay, so I'm back up here in my style sheet, and we're going to do footer and curly brackets, and we're going to assign our text color 33333. So remember, with hexadecimal values, you always have 6 digits there, 6 digits or 6 characters. Font size. And we're going to set that to 0.75 em. And then the last one, the font style. We're going to make that italic. Okay. So the last one there they want you to do, so this is page 103. Let's add in our a working email address down here in the footer. Okay, so right after that first line, I'm going to add a line break. So remember BR. And then, okay, so to remember to do an email address. All right, we're going to start out with our anchor element, href equals, and then in our quotes, we're going to do mail to colon, and whatever the email address is. I'll just use mine for K-State. All right, close off that opening anchor element tag, and then we just have to put in the text that's going to show up on the web page. So Michael at KSU.edu. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and do a file save as. And I'm going to put that in my chapter 3. I'll just make a new folder here called Trillium 3. We'll just save it index.html. All right, so let's take a look now at the preview of the page. Okay, so you can see we got rid of the underline with that nav anchor style. We're using our feature class to make the text on these two list items red. All right, and then our footer, we used kind of a black gray color, and we also added in our email address there. All right, okay, so that's 3.5. Let's go to 3.6. So we'll just use this same file that we have. So we'll just keep working on this one. And what we want to do now is do a span element. Okay. All right, so for a span class, I'll go up here into the embedded style sheet. Remember, for class, we use period and then the name of the class. So I'm going to call this one company. All right, curly brackets. And I'm going to assign some properties for this class. Font weight, we're going to make that bold. And semicolon after each property. All right, we're going to do a font family. And for this one, we're going to do Georgia, comma, Times New Roman. Remember, because this font, the name of this font has more than one word, we have to put it in quotation marks. And then third option, just serif. And then the last thing we're going to set here is the font size. So we're going to set that to 1.25 em. All right, so for span, so remember span class, that's something we can apply to a specific piece of text that's maybe inside of a paragraph element. All right, so let's go to this first paragraph right here, line 45. And what I want to do is make the Trillium media design. So those 3 words, we're gonna apply that class that we just set up. Okay, so I'm gonna start out by doing a span class equals, and then the name of the class, so we call it company. Put that in quotes. Close that opening tag, and then I just need to take the closing tag there. I'm going to cut that and put it right at the end of where I want that special class applied. All right, so we have the opening span tag and then the closing span tag, and we're going to apply that class selector to those three pieces of text right there. All right, so let's just go ahead and save this and preview it. All right, so you can kind of see there, we have the serif font, larger size. Okay, so it's applying those property values to just those pieces of text there that we specified. All right, let's go to 3.7. We're going to create a simple external style sheet for the first part here. All right, so go ahead and close this. And I'm just going to do a new document here in brackets. All right, so this is page 106, if you're following along. All right, and I'm just going to start typing some styles here. So we're going to do just a simple body style. We're going to have a background color. Set the value here for it. And then let's just set the text color. Set that to white. All right, so that's all we're going to do for now. Let's just do a file save as. And I'm going to save this in my chapter 3. Let's just call this external.css. Or actually the book says colors. Yeah, we'll just do what the book says. So save it as color.css. Okay. All right, so you know the color's changed here in brackets. Okay, so that lets us know that we are doing the correct thing with our file here. All right, and then I'm just going to open up from our chapter 2 files, that template HTML, just that basic template here. Let me change the title to external styles. All right. Okay, so the thing to remember with an external style sheet, we have to link that in the head section. Okay, so remember this is our head section of our document. So anywhere here in the head section, you can link that style sheet. So I'm just going to make a new line here, and we're going to type link space rel equals, we have to tell it what we're linking here. So it's a style sheet. And then we have to tell it where to find it. So put a href equals, and in quotes, we're going to do color.css. And then close that. Okay. Now let's just do a simple paragraph element here. Okay, so this web page uses an external style sheet. All right, let's save this. So file save as. I'll save it in my files here. We'll just call it external.html. And let's see what happened. All right, so it looks like it's working. Okay, because we set up, remember in our style sheet, we set up the background colors, that blue color, and the text as white. All right, so it's linking that style sheet with this HTML document and applying that. All right, so that was just a kind of a simple way to show you how that works. 3.8, okay, so we're gonna go ahead and create a little more sophisticated style sheet here. All right, close this, close all those. And I'm gonna go ahead and open up the, let's just go to 3. This last one, we saved that, 3.6. All right, so let me open that up. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of the embedded styles here. Okay, so from line 7 to 33, and highlight those. I'm going to copy them. Okay, so Command or Control C, and then I'm going to create a new file here. Go ahead and paste that. All right, so what I'm going to do is save as, and go here to my chapter 3, Trillium 3, and I'm going to say this as trillium.css. All right, let me go back here to the index file we're on. I'm going to go ahead and just delete those styles out of there. And now I'm going to go up here into my head section, right under line 5. I'll make a new line here. And we are going to link up that style sheet. Okay, so link href equals, we called it trillium.css, all right? And we got to tell it what kind of file we're linking here. So rel equals style sheet. And then closing that tag. All right, so let me save this, or let's do save as. And we're gonna save that in our chapter 3 Trillium index. Go ahead and replace it. And let's preview that. All right, so you can see we got all of our same styles applied now as what we did before. It's just now that we're using them as an external style sheet, okay? And so let's go ahead and show you here, hide that. Let's go to chapter 3, the files we downloaded. Let's take this services file, okay? Let's go ahead and copy that file. Copy. And then I'm going to paste that into my Trillium 3 folder. All right, and let's open up that services.html in brackets. And let's go ahead and apply that style sheet again, the external style sheet. All right, so we're going to link equals Trillium CSS style sheet. Close that. And let's go ahead and save as Trillium 3. Okay, so we're in my chapter 3, services.html. I'll go ahead and save it and replace. And let's go ahead and preview it now. All right, so we have our same style sheet applied to this HTML file. If I click on home, so it's going to go to our index.html file. We have the same style sheet. So remember, the power of an external style sheet is that you can apply that to multiple pages within your website. Okay, so imagine if I had 20 different pages in this website. I could just use this one style sheet to apply the styles to all those different pages. Okay, so I just have to type one line of code in each of those pages instead of doing the entire style sheet for each one if I did that via the embedded way. All right, so let's do 3.9. Okay. All right, so this one we're going to deal with kind of some layout issues. All right. So what I want to do here, 3.9. Okay, let's go close these out real quick. Hide brackets for a second. My chapter 3, this 3.8. I'll go ahead and copy those. Copy all of those files. And back here in my chapter 3, I'm going to make a new folder called Trillium Center. And let's paste those items in there. All right, so let's go ahead and open up this style sheet in brackets. And what I want to do, I'm going to make another, I'm going to add, okay, so we've done class selectors so far. This time I'm going to do an ID selector. All right, so to start an ID selector, we use hashtag and then we name it. So I'm going to call it wrapper. Okay, so remember the main difference between class selectors and ID selectors that you only apply an ID selector one time on your page. Okay, it's kind of a one-time use. All right, so I want to set my margin left. We're going to set that at auto. Okay, and then we're going to do margin right. Set that auto also. All right, and then the last thing I want to do here is set the width to 80%. Okay, so what we got going here, we're going to tell the that page that we want all of the content of the page, which we're going to do here by creating a div. Okay, I'll show you that here in a second. But that div, we're going to take up 80% of the browser width. Okay, so 80% of the window that you have open as far as your web browser that you're using. And by setting the margin, the left and right margins to auto, it's going to apply an equal amount to each of those. And so that should center all the content on the page. Okay, so let's save this. And now let's open up Trillium Center, open up the index page here. And okay, so we want to apply that ID selector to pretty much all the content on our page here. All right. So right after my opening body tag, I'm going to create a new line here, and I'm going to create a new div. Okay, so remember, divs are just ways to organize our content, and we're going to give that div an ID selector. Name that ID selector here wrapper. Okay, so remember that's what we named that ID selector in our style sheet. Okay, close that opening tag, and then I just need to cut this closing tag, and I want to put it all the way down here at the very end, right after the last closing tag of the footer. And I'm going to paste that right there. Okay, so we got all of the content of the page inside that one div, and it should center everything on the browser for us. So let's save this and take a look. All right, so it looks like it's working here, okay? So remember before everything was like kind of flush left over to the side of the browser. Now as I kind of make the changes in size, everything is pretty much staying in that center. And we got, as far as if we're looking at the space here of the browser, so we got 80%. We can just look at the color blocks here. 80% of the width is taken up. Okay, and then we have about 10% of empty space here and 10% empty space there. And that'll stay the same as we change the size. All right, so that's kind of a neat trick. Pretty much you'll use that all the time in web design. Okay, so this would be a good one to kind of memorize. All right, last one, 3.10. So let's work a little bit with the cascading part of things, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and create a new folder. So go ahead and close these out. Actually, I'll tell you what we'll do. Close this. Just go ahead and go to your chapter 3 files that you downloaded. Go to that 3.10. Go ahead and copy those 2 files there. And let's paste them in your chapter 3. Let's create a new folder here called Cascade. All right, paste those 2 items in there. And let's open that up with brackets and kind of show you what we got going on here, okay? So we have the link to our external style sheet here called site.css, but then we also have some styles here that are embedded in the HTML document. And then lastly, we also have an inline style down here, okay? So if you remember, the inline styles will override the embedded styles and the external style sheets, okay? Embedded styles will overrule the external style sheets, right? So if we look at the, let's open up this CSS page here. Cascade site CSS. Okay, see, we just have a background color and then a text color set, okay? So let's go ahead and preview that page. All right, so you can see we got that background color that we have in our CSS file, right? That kind of yellowish color there. And we have a black color set for text, but it's showing up blue, right? So why is it showing up blue? Well, it's because if we go back here to the HTML page, here in our embedded style sheet, we have that blue color set up as our body text, okay? So that embedded style sheet's overriding the external style sheet. And then that second paragraph, we have red text down here, right? So what it's doing here is within this paragraph element, we're telling it to apply a red colored text to all of this content right here. Okay, so that's going to override the blue and the black. Okay, so that's kind of how the cascading part of it works. So if you have a site with a lot of different pages, and then maybe you have one page that you want to look a little bit different than some of the other pages, you could use a different embedded style sheet and different inline styles to kind of override that overall external style sheet, right? So that's kind of the power of the way the cascading part of that works. All right, so that's it for the hands-on practice activities. 3.11, just work through that on your own. Basically, you're gonna go to that website they have there and validate your cascading style sheets, okay? So it works the same as what we did last week when we validated the HTML files, right? Okay, hope this helps, and we will see you guys next week.